tell me what is going on. Seems that everybody's gone crazy. Where have all the dreamers gone? Or have we all just gotten lazy? Something's got to give. There won't be much life left to live. Please send a sign from up above. And if I gotta choose, I choose love. I choose love. I choose love. No one's gonna make me hate. I choose love. I choose love. No one's gonna take that away. Ooh, something strange is in the air. Seems that everybody's changing, and I can't find no faith anywhere. Seems it's been replaced with raging. Something's got to give. There won't be much life left to live. Please send a sign from up above. And if I gotta choose, I choose love. I choose love. I choose love. No one's gonna make me hate. I choose love. I choose love. No one's gonna take that away. No one can take that from me. I see what I choose to see. Reality is what you make it. So why would I ever choose hatred? I choose love. I choose love. No one's gonna make me hate. I choose love. I choose love. No one's gonna take that away. I choose love. I choose love. No one's gonna make me hate. I choose love. I choose love. And no one's gonna take that away. I choose love.
What's going on? What's going on? Thanks for tuning in to this late night progressive action TV show. To be very honest with you guys, I had a rough day today. I had a migraine mostly all day today. I couldn't even get out the bed, to be honest. Real rough day. I want you guys to share out this live, though. I didn't get a chance to do it myself. But we're going to talk about some stuff. I'm just going to be doing a whole bunch of probably ranting. I'm going to have my brother Alexander Kemp. He's going to be chiming in on these topics I'm going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the presidential election, Lil Wayne endorsing Donald Trump. Of course, we're going to talk about MTA issues. We're going to talk about what they trying to do to the stations department, get rid of stations personnel, mainly station agents. And Sarah Feinberg, the New York City Transit interim president, just responded to one of my tweets. We're going to discuss that too. But let me share out this. Let me see, share to a group. While I'm sharing to the group, you guys should too. 1 second. Everybody should share out the show. Everybody should share out the show. The more people that know about the show, the better. Like I always say. Let me see. Okay, that's good for now. Somebody start a watch party for me or something. I like those watch parties. So let's get to the first set of business. Hold on. I'm all over the place today. So on Monday, November 2nd, 2020, at the Housing Authority, Howard Houses, that's in Brownsville, everyone is to meet at East New York and Mother Gaston Boulevard. This is for a rally to unite and take back our communities. Black Solidarity Day in Brownsville. There has been a lot of crime going on in Brownsville. The United Clergy Coalition is getting together once again to bring prayer, strength, and unity to our community. Shout out to the UCC. Oh, yeah. If anybody want to call into the show, the number is 515-605-9842. The number is on the screen. I want to hear from you guys. I really want to hear from you guys tonight. I'm waiting for Kemp to call in. So we could get this going. Let me see. Oh, did you guys know that the MTA is now starting to keep track of the assaults and harassment on transit workers? You know, look, I support this right here because this is something that I told them to do at least 3-4 years ago. If you look on the screen, these numbers is going to update every week. So even though we may be in a new week, once they classify it properly, it will be added to prior week. So, pardon me, you got to always refresh the link. And I forget what page it's on. I will have it at the end of the video. I will put the link up so you guys can pay attention to what's going on. Let me get Kemp on the phone. I want to get him on right away. What's going on, bro? You there? Hello? Hold on one second. Let me fix that real quick. Give me 1 second. Gotta go to manual route. Bro. Hold on. See what this is right here. Let me see if he there now. You there, bro? Let me take this off real quick. Let me see something. Live. Hold on 1 second. Let me get Kemp on the phone. I gotta get Kemp on the phone. You there, bro?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I gotta see what's going on with the it wouldn't let me Bluetooth you in for some reason. And with this wire, for some reason, it's static. I don't get it. But you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, I can hear you good. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't in the actual live. Maybe that might have been affecting it, but I had closed everything out.
Nah. It's something with the I don't know if it's the wire or what, but we're gonna make it do what it do. But you know what I want to talk about first? I was just talking about the assaults, where the people could find the assaults at, but I really didn't really want to talk about that. I want to talk about the presidential election. I'm gonna put this on the screen. Lil Wayne just endorsed Donald Trump. What do you think about that?
I think he probably needs some money.
Yeah.
I think as a business move, I don't know what the gentleman's finances are, but I would think that things haven't been that great. I mean, anybody who knows what rappers' money is like, and considering what he's went through for the last 15 years, fighting for money or being screwed out of money, I think a lot of these people, as they sign on, like the pastors, like the Steve Harveys, it's a financial decision, right? If someone offers you something to stand next to someone, and it's more lucrative than not standing next to them, then you do that, because people who thrive off of currency, it's never really about the soul of it. It's all about the capital of it.
Correct.
So I think that I asked myself when I saw it, how many people would that actually sway? Like Lil Wayne's fan base they're actually getting old, right? They're like probably in their mid-30s. They're not, the new generation. So Lil Wayne's fans, are they that simplistic of voters that Lil Wayne is gonna like sway voters who are on the fence? I don't know.
But what I don't like,
maybe it'll make some people stay home.
but what I don't know, what I don't like is what these presidential candidates is doing is that they reaching out to entertainers. They not really reaching out to like Dr. Claude Anderson, intellectuals. Why do they run to entertainers in order to get the vote for the black community?
Because black people are very emotional. Remember, black people, we don't have a culture. We don't have a language. We don't have an identity.
Mm.
It's a very troubling reality when you consider that everything you are is a byproduct, an after effect, a creation of something that was not intended.
Okay.
There was no plan for a free black African in America. They didn't have a structure for what would happen in the event the people they brought here to do the work would ever get free. Those were amendments. Those were doctrines that had to be created, and then they had to figure it out on the fly. So when you ask black people, why can't we vote in blocks, or when people talk about group economics, the reason none of those fundamentally work is because we don't really have a group identity. So if you have someone from, and it's why when they say, well, 13% of America is black, well, yes and no. It's why the president has went out of his way to stop immigration coming in from, as he called it, the S-hole countries, because Nigerians and people from other black countries are coming and actually becoming more productive than white citizens in this country. They're becoming doctors. They're becoming lawyers. They're becoming physicists, and they're the ones pushing the needle. And if they start having babies here now, you start changing that whole narrative again. So part of controlling the black population is stopping black immigration and confining our society to a specific sect of black people. So we're always at war with each other because someone who comes from Trinidad is a Trinidadian. Mm-hmm. Now, even though they've suffered the culprit of colonialism and slavery, they still have an identity. They have something to pull from. When they come here, they can group together because they have a place to identify themselves by. Where does the black American identify him as? A slave? I mean, what is your legacy? Now, we can point to individual black success as points of reference so that we have some form of freedom fighter in us to show ourselves that we're greater than they told us we can never be. Mm-hmm. But then collectively, what does that mean we are? Who are we? Because culture requires you to have three things, right? It requires you to have economics, it requires you to have a language, and it requires you to have another part of it that makes you a culture. The closest we've ever gotten to that, believe it or not, was actually hip-hop culture, which is why they infiltrated it. We had our own language in hip-hop, we had our own subsect, and we had a fashion to attach to it. So when we said Popo is coming down the block, that is a language. When we called police Jake, the way we spoke in our diction was absolutely, it is hip-hop culture, which is why culture doesn't identify itself with a color, though. And that's where we had to be very careful. Mm-hmm. Because there were Puerto Rican bebop boys or graffiti artists who are part of hip-hop culture. So it can't be just for black. So when we question what is black culture and how do we get black people to vote unanimously for one agenda, well, what is black people, where do we meet, what is our common ground? That we're black? Because some people are black and hungry and some people are black and rich.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
So then who is our unifying factor? So when I say Tremel is my brother, yes, he's my brother because we're brothers in suffering. Because we all know what it feels like to walk in a store and pay for something and still feel like or be treated like we stole something. That social anxiety of blackness should be our unifying factor. I'm your brother. She's my sister because we know what it feels like to be condemned by white society just for being black. When people ask, how can Jews be supporting Donald Trump when he specifically is empowering white supremacist Nazis who are walking around with Nazi flags. What is their unifying factor? How can a Jewish person who says never again, whose mantra, whose whole purpose of living is to identify what you'll never do to me again and identify the person who did it to them, still stand with the people who thrive off of that? Because the one unifying factor they have is that they are not black. And this is still the hangover of Obamaism, as I call it. It is the condemnation of black intellectuality. It is the fear that black people are actually becoming the elite. And that in itself requires a rebuke from white supremacy, because technology has surpassed people in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, in these Rust Belt states. They're not part of the technological advances. All of those advances take place in the inner cities. You can look at California, you can look at New York, you can look at Chicago. That's where all of these big, huge skyscrapers are. That's where all the industries are, the Googles, the Amazons. They're not in rural America. There's no technological advances in farming, and if they are, that means replacing the farmer. They don't need one guy to put in 12 screws every hour into a car. There's a robot for that.
Let me ask you a question. What you feel about now, Lil Wayne endorsed Donald Trump, but then you had Young Jeezy endorsing Biden. Is it the same thing?
Well, that's pulpit. Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, when people say Biden and Trump, what's the difference? The difference is where the opportunity lies, right? I mean, so yes, we both know that neither one of them have our best interests. They have their own interests. They're individual interests. And then there's people who find their own interest in these guys, so they support those guys. It's the reason why Congress allowed and helped Donald Trump to break every law that has been established since the inception of our Constitution. Because they've always wanted to break the law. They just didn't have the balls to do it. And they found someone that they can put out front that is more than willing to break every constitutional law, and they'll use him as the guy to do that, to fatten their own pockets and set up their own agendas for their... I mean, people forget after the Civil War, the people who lost the war didn't go to another country. These people became business owners and governors and senators. And these people have huge industries throughout the country and the world. So they raise their children based on the ideology that we are still superior. These people who believe black people should be slaves don't ever look at you as their equal. It is okay for me to speak to someone as long as they speak from underneath me. But when you start now ascending, there are instruments in place to always suppress that growth. That is what you talk about the glass ceiling, which people love to deny, because it would mean that they actually have to consider the fact that they're not as great as they believe they are. How great are you if the rules are never fixed? When people tell me things about like Babe Ruth's home run record and all these old time baseball players who are legends in the sport, I said, well, we have to put an asterisk next to it. And people get very angry with me. I said, well, how is he the greatest if he didn't play against the greatest players?
Facts.
Who pitched against him? Who was hitting against him? We weren't allowed to play. We weren't allowed to vote up until one generation ago. The whole pie was divided.
Let me ask you this: who you think out of Trump and Biden? Who's we hear this narrative of the lesser of two evils? Who do you think is really the lesser of two evils?
It's without question Biden, and that's my opinion. Again, my opinion based on what works in my life, right? And I think it has to be said that a lot of people with money don't want to lose half of their money, especially if you're black. I remember Dave Chappelle did a comedy skit talking about, let me be rich for a little while before you tax half my money, because I just got here. Right? And when you think about black celebrities, this is a real, like, you're not even supposed to be at that table. You're not even supposed to be having a conversation about wealth. And now you've achieved a certain level of white status. And the fear is that if you get taxed, or in order to fix the country, or to bridge back what the intentions of another party is that we're going to tax you at a certain rate. And that means you won't be as rich. Now, for some black people who got new money or new rich, That is a very fearful ideology because they're broke with the current system. So who knows if they don't want to be like a common man, like the working man. I mean, you have trappers who tell people to work a man is a sucker. In theory, this is the ideology that who wants to go back to being normal again, and not being able to boss up or have a seat in white society. But to answer your question, I believe Biden is the lesser of two evils because I believe the people who will have access in his environment will benefit the access I require to make my own dream. Because I'm a savior, right? Because anyone who believes that is naive. If you are black in America, if you're a person, and this is, I put this post on Twitter also. The delusion is to believe that this is a white and black issue. It's actually a class issue. And it's more rooted in, do you believe these two guys, if you had to pick one, who would be more for the richest elite or for the poorest, I would say the one guy who's the president, his history has shown that he has very little compassion for poor people.
Yeah. Real quick, Kemp. I just fixed the sound. I just fixed your sound. There was some crazy stuff going on. I didn't realize I had a button off, but when I use the wire, it's a lot of static. But I went Bluetooth. You are crystal clear now, so we full throttle now.
Beautiful. Well, that's what happens with progressive action.
We full throttle.
Progressive action pushing the needle, man.
Yeah, we full throttle.
Progressive action got the best equipment, the best cameras. I mean, people take that for granted. They really do. They have no idea about the expenses you incur out of your own pocket to actually bring them a quality program. Listen, you take it that personal.
I'm happy now, right? Because I'm like, yo, I thought I had this worked out. You get on the show, the static, but I had it on mute. I had the Bluetooth on mute. And I'm like, my iPad was blocking the button, so I didn't even look at it. And I said, hold on, the button was on mute. So let me redo it. Now you sound just like me now. You crystal clear, no static.
Yeah, I can hear it a lot clearer.
Yeah, we full throttle now. But look, I need you guys to call into the show. Please call into the show, 515-605-9842. I want to discuss some of this stuff with you guys. Yeah, bro, finish. This your show tonight, Kemp. I'm a guest tonight. This your show tonight.
Bro, cause you know, I told you, I'm like, my whole life is a long-winded sentence. So you get me started, forget it. I mean, but these are things that matter. But these are things like, you know, intellectually, when we would be in classes separate from each other, and I would be hearing your arguments, and you'd be hearing. I'll argue with anybody because I don't believe that there is a one-stop-fits-all solution to black prosperity. And when people say, well, Ice Cube is wrong or right, well, yes and no, and yes and no, and is Biden better, and the lesser two evils is only playing into the devil's hand. Yes, that's true, but you do have to remember that math always makes sense. There is a science to the fact that you only make up 13% of the population. That is by design.
Facts.
That by that design, they have established the system that you will always need white people to help you achieve whatever you need to achieve. Without white people in the civil rights movement, you don't get the voters' rights bill. You do not. It would be impossible for you to be mad enough. Now, you can affect industry, which is why white people eventually stand with you, and that's why I say it's better for Biden to win, because a country in calamity, you have to remember this is a capitalist society. The United States of America thrives off of money. So what's bad for business is bad for the American model. Currently, what Trump has done is bad for business. You can't have citizens creating plots to kidnap governors supported by the president of the United States and think that is a cohesive nation.
But he said that his Justice Department was the one who stopped it. So
being that this is progressive action, we can tie that into the union. Our union takes you to step twos. or step ones. The buses is a little different from RTO and stations, but so the process in buses is that it gets addressed at the depot level first, and if the violation can't be addressed on the depot level, then it gets taken to step 2, step 3, step 4. Now, does the person who walks in the office with you to defend your contractual rights, are they saving your job, or are they just identifying a place in the contract that has already been negotiated that prevents you from getting in trouble for that specific occurrence?
I mean,
so the fact that you don't know the contract, like a person who doesn't know the contract, and you walk into the office and you think, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. I did this, that, and the third. And then the person who walks in with you, whose job it is to know the contract, says, well, listen, nothing's going to happen because you were right, because in the contract it says this, that, and the third. Thank you very much. Have a great day, sir. Take care. Did they save your job, or did the negotiations that took place in the contract in 2005 save your job?
But
now, if you're telling me that the FBI did their job, and that's a praise to Trump, then yes, I guess so.
I mean, I look at,
were they not doing their job when they investigated him for Russia?
But I mean, look.
Like, I mean, did the is the Justice Department? In other words, let me use a better analogy because I just processed it. Right. I tell my kids they shouldn't fight in school because they might get suspended. I also tell my kids if somebody puts their hands on you, make sure you defend yourself. If my kid knocks somebody out in school, I have to come to the school and not affirm that I told my kid he should lay somebody out if they put their hands on him, because that would be bad parenting, in theory. But our private conversations are very different than our public conversations. Our union can't go in the news and say, well, we think this is a good idea, but privately, we know we have to do job actions. We know we have to present certain aspects of it to protect our contract, because they'll abuse that fact. So if our president has an agenda, yeah, he doesn't technically have to say it. He can tell his daughter's son or his son-in-law to push an agenda, and then he can use his Justice Department to stop it and make it seem like he's Batman, when really he's the Penguin.
But bruh, all right, see, look, let me make this clear, because everybody think that if you bash Biden, you automatically vote for Trump. Whenever you vote for any of these candidates, it's not, especially us black people, it's not about a block vote or how he affect us as a whole. It's about how these candidates affect us individually. So for me, I can't vote for Trump because I know he want to dismantle unions, right? That's not conducive to the type of business that we're in. If we don't have a union, we'll be in trouble. We're in trouble now with a union, so imagine without one.
Right.
The woman right to choose. He put in place this Amy Coney Barrett. Who's to say that some more justices, Supreme Court justices, won't die during his tenure, and he makes everyone conservative, right? We'll be in trouble, because then a lot of things will be overturned. So that alone right there make me I can't mess with Trump. But do I think that Trump is the lesser of two evils? I think that he is. I think that Biden track record, especially in the black community, is something that we can't forgive. Like, let's just focus on the conditioning of us black people, right? Ice Cube went and said, look, I'm going to put together this contract for Black America. I'm going to go to both candidates. I went to Biden telling me, we'll speak to you after election. I mean, my position would be, well, I will vote for you after the election if you feel like that. You know what I'm saying? Trump people were smart enough to say, hey, I'm going to sit down with you. And Trump people also played the game of, we're going to put it out that Ice Cube came to sit down with us, because we got to remember Ice Cube never sat down with, Ice Cube never put out there that he sat down with Trump. Right. So when you look at the whole lesser of two evils, right? What did like, and we talking about these two candidates right here. What's the main difference between really Trump and Biden? Biden put more hurt on the black community than probably anyone in government today, right? They talk about Trump building a wall. Biden built the fence. They talk about Trump putting the kids and separating the kids from their family. Who built the cages? Who put these kids in cages? It was Biden. Everything that people hate Trump for, Biden done did, and probably did it even worse. Right? So now back to like the whole lesser of two evils thing, right? Trump been in government. I don't even consider Trump a politician. He's a businessman. And that right there alone makes me not want to mess with him again, because the type of business that he run is he don't like unions. He ran a business called, he was on a TV show called The Apprentice, right? Where he was able to fire you. You ain't have no recourse for no union. This is the kind of business that he want to run. Do I think that Trump is a part of the swamp? No, I don't. Because he got people on both sides that hate him. He got Republicans that hate him. He got Democrats that hate him, of course, right? I don't think he's not a part of the swamp. He's not even a part of them. And that's why I think that if Biden get elected, he's going to tranquilize black people back to sleep again. We going to think that it's all good. We going to think we got a victory. When this man done put more hurt and harm on our community more than anyone. More than Trump.
I agree. That's a dope assessment of where we are as a people, because we're speaking from our position and how it affects us.
Oh, let me say one more thing, because I almost forgot. Listen, we quick when Ice Cube went to speak to both camps, and we found out that he went to speak to Trump, everybody called him a sellout. Sellout.
Right.
Lil Wayne, he endorsed Donald Trump. Sellout. 50 Cent. Sellout. They ready to cancel him. Why we wasn't fast to cancel Biden after all the hurt and pain he put on our communities? We so conditioned to hate each other so fast. We quick to cancel each other so fast. But we here to bend down to this man who has put hurt and pain in our communities. Oh, Trump only paid $750 for his taxes. Trump said that was just a filing fee. But no matter what it was, during the debate, he said, Biden, I used the tax laws that you put in place, and I used them. You put these in place for people like me to use. So how can you be mad at the person that used it and not be mad at the person that implemented it? How does that work? Like, it's all right if you want to vote for Biden, that's cool. Not against that, right? But don't, as a person of color, attempt to defend his past. His past is nothing short of a slave master. This is modern day slavery. Did we forget what the book that Michelle Alexander wrote, The New Jim Crow? Who you think invented the new Jim Crow? Who you think had a heavy hand in the new Jim Crow? It was Biden. It was Biden. Like, we have grown. I want to know, when did people really start hating Trump? Because especially in our community, you could point to about 50, 60 rap songs that name drop Trump in a positive way. So
Russell Simmons and him was best friends, right? I mean, up until he ran for the election and started doing race politics, because that was his end.
Him and Puffy was good friends. But we so conditioned, and we are just pointed out to hate the wrong people sometime, right? Now we go support Biden. Oh, now you hear the excuse. Oh, we go support Biden because he's not going to last these 4 years and Kamala go be president. Well, how good was Kamala? People don't even like her in her state. Oh, she's going to be for black people.
Well, politicians are bad people. Can we agree on that? The premise of, I hold black legislators more accountable than I hold any white legislator ever, because I know the capacity of how we've been sold out by pulpit pimping politicians who walk into our neighborhoods, who when we talk about the amount of money that goes into cities and how specific districts don't get those money, but those districts have representatives. When you talk about gentrification, well, a lot of those districts are represented by black people who've been career politicians in those neighborhoods for 30, 40, 50 years, who sell out to big developers and take bribes in their pocket to allow them to redistrict the schools, to allow them to change that building into a new luxury condo and give 2% of the apartments to the lower income people, but now the other 88% or 98% have to move. So when we talk about the cancel culture, part of that is because we should hold ourselves to a greater standard. In other words, if you're my brother, my intentions or your intentions should be for my progression first. And if it's not, or at least I have to question it. Now, to your point, self-hate is ingrained in our being in these United States of America because we don't have a culture. We don't know whether we want to be like the rich and famous or if we want to be like the Dr. Kings and the Malcolms. Are we freedom fighters or are we destined to be the Oprahs? Part of that comes with you have to be comfortable in your environment, and we don't have a naturalized environment. Our society is built for the people who created it. And those people have no interest or had no interest of sharing the spoils of their victory with us. So it almost seems as if we're taking it when we request or demand equality. It almost feels to them as if they're giving something up that they've earned to someone who essentially in their mind hasn't earned it. To the point where black people, my argument is that black people are very emotional. We're very emotional because there's pain attached to every decision we make. There is such an ingrained sense of disparity in our person that every decision we make can be the ultimate dissension back to putting us closer to where we actually spent 150 years or 400 years running from. So when we vote, it's not about who we're voting for. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't. I'm saying this is what I believe the ideology is behind it. It's more about the power of you having a choice where they've told you your choice never matters anyway. It's almost like where the criminal or someone who commits a crime, if you steal to feed your family, are you really a criminal? So when I say the emotion part of it, we might at some point, and this can be for both arguments, right? We might have to make a decision that is so uncomfortable emotionally to us, but that'll help us 50, 100 years down the line. Are we thinking for the now or are we thinking for the later? To your point, by continuously supporting the Biden types of people, we already know what that's gotten us, right?
And where has it gotten us? Where it gotten us?
We can debate that. That is very debatable. There are people who would say, are you better off today than you were in 1970? I would say no, personally. I would think when they removed the father from the home, intentionally, purposefully, through narcotics and through the absent father law, which actually said if you're going to get government assistance, your father can't be in the house if you're married and he doesn't support you.
Who set that up?
They kicked him out of the house.
Who set that up? A Democrat or Republican?
I'd have to research that for you, but would it matter?
Would it matter?
No. I mean, like big picture. To me, I don't see party. I see policy. The policy of black prosperity is not beneficial to any part of American politics. Because again, you're taking it. You have to take it from somewhere. So in other words, if we're gonna get growth, well then that means we have to get that growth. There's a tree that grows. It has 48 apples on it. Well, who gets the 48 apples? There's 13 people on the floor. and then you have another 77. Now, the 77 have a greater amount of hands to pull the apples off the tree.
Yeah.
And you're standing there, and if two full,
hold on one second, Ken.
you grab the one off the floor.
Let me see who this caller is. Caller 1920. You're now on live with Progressive Action TV. Caller 19.
Brother Terrell, how you doing, man?
What's up? Who this?
This is Eric Taylor, BO, East York Depot. Been with MTA for 14 plus years. I discovered you like the end of last year. Hooked up with Progressive, listened to your words. I respect everything you do and your struggle you're going through, brother.
I appreciate that, bro. You have any comment on what we're talking about right now? Like, how do you feel about this presidential election?
Look here. I have a couple of things to say. The Ice Cube, 50 Cent, and Lil Wayne thing, I look at it as self-preservation. That's how I look at it. I have no comment for that. I went flip-flopping between that once and again, but I said, if these brothers are going to do what they do, let them do them, okay? What I want to talk about is this Joe Biden thing. This has been bothering me ever since he basically hijacked the Democratic nomination.
Okay.
That's what they did.
Okay.
All these establishment corporate Democrats ganged up on Bernie Sanders, had people like Buttigieg and Klobuchar just drop out and endorse Biden, then everybody just fell in line and just booted Sanders out the way. I didn't like that one bit. But here's the thing about Biden. You're absolutely right about him. Okay? This is the man who was the architect of the 1994 crime bill.
Facts.
If not the co-author.
Facts.
He incarcerated a generation of black men over petty crimes.
Facts.
People don't understand that. People need to do that research. They need to know these facts. He was the one who swayed the Republicans in a hearing. It's on YouTube. Look it up. With a compelling speech of why they should go to war in Iraq for almost 20 years. He's a warmonger. He's argued time and time again about cutting Social Security, Medicare, and everything. And the only reason the black people get behind him is if he's Obama's homeboy. People need to do this research.
I mean, not only that, hold on real quick. Biden also voted to let states overturn Roe versus Wade. So we making this whole big thing about Amy Coney Barrett being the Supreme Court justice. Biden voted for the people who don't know what Roe versus Wade is, it's the women's right to choose, right? He voted for that. Luckily, during that time when he voted, he was a Democrat. The Republicans said no. A lot of people don't know that, but continue, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, as far as the presidential race goes, I voted my ballots in. Okay, I did that at the end of September, absentee, because I'm in a different address than where I used to be. It's not a battle of. It's not the choice of lesser of two evils. It's not. Right now, I look at it like this. It's a choice of who do you want to fight. You have Trump, who's this stern businessman, failed businessman, that's fact, who won't give an inch on anything because he's so partisan and have people so behind him licking his boots that they'll do anything for him, that won't give anything on Medicare for all or free college for the lesser or stuff like that. Now, Biden, I think Biden's a bit of a pushover. He'll cave on some things if you fight hard enough against him. That's the choice that needs to be made. Who do you want to fight? Someone who will give a little or someone who won't give at all?
Do we have any proof that Trump won't give at all?
Oh, he has so much. Well, you know what? Come to think about it, what you just said, you're right. There's one person missing from this equation, and that's Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Now, Trump, with this stimulus, he caved a little. He was like, no, we offered 1.8 trillion, closing one at 2.5 or something like that. Mitch McConnell wouldn't budge. There's at least 300 pieces of legislation sitting on his desk for 2+ years, maybe more, because he would not. He had the audacity to go on. What was the justice Obama was putting up? What's his name? I forgot. His name escapes me.
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, I know. I forgot. Mitch McConnell proudly on Fox smiled like the Joker and said, no, we're not putting him through. But they quick to put this Barrett judge in. Now, I don't know the future. It's a wait and see with her. But this Biden thing has really got me upset. It really does. Because it's like people, especially black people, are really stuck in with Joe Biden. I don't blame them, but you have to do the research. You have to do the research on his background.
And people, and you know what? People saying that, oh, look how long he said that. But listen, there's a saying out there that say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. If Biden was maybe in his early 20s and he authored that bill, maybe I'll give him a shot. Be like, nah, he was young. He was, whatever. Mm-hmm. Biden wrote the crime bill or authored the crime bill, co-wrote it, whatever you want to call it, at 51 years old.
Right.
51 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He was already set in his ways. He was already set in his ways.
And I'll give you that too. He's a standard politician. That's what makes those two different. Because from the jump, Trump said he was going to try and run the country like a business. Well, if you know his history, that wasn't a good strategy. But we figured, right, you know that wasn't a good strategy. 6 bankruptcies, I could go on forever. But anyway, we thought at least, because when he got elected in 2016, first of all, everybody thought he stole the election. No, here's what happened in that 2016 election. This is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I'm not a bigger fan of Barack Obama neither. He's as corporate, as centrist as it gets. Now, everybody the fairy tale in 2008 was cool, but he had a lot to do with the mess Bush left behind. I'll give him a break on that. But that second term, you should have done a little bit more for the underprivileged and for the working class in this country. You did nothing. Wall Street, all this, Wall Street, the banks, the oil, everything, just steadily gain. Now everybody wants to shut all these corporations down.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
hold on one second. Kemp, you still there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. You could jump in. You could jump in whenever you feel like. All right,
okay. And so when Hillary was going in, everybody knew Hillary was going to promise the same thing, no changes. She may have won the popular vote, but this stupid system of the electoral college, that's another subject for another day. But that proved that everybody was tired of it. I don't think it was just bias because of Obama. I think they was just tired of the same old stuff, the same old rhetoric from the left, from the Obamas, the Bidens, the Hillarys. People were tired of that. There was no real progress for the middle class, the working class, the poor. Nothing under that administration. Sure,
that's debatable. That's debatable. That's debatable.
Well, yeah, that's debatable. I'm not going to lie about that. But
because what do we consider prosperity? Like what do I'm? And I didn't mean to cut you.
Hold on, y'all. Wait. Y'all keep Y'all keep talking. I'm gonna get me some juice. Y'all keep talking.
Yeah. So,
okay, bro. Go ahead, man.
So you know, handing someone a brick of gold is not going to change the legacy of what created them needing that brick of gold.
Right.
We have to consider the position Obama was in. He had a Congress, a Senate against him. He had all the Republicans pretty much gearing up to stop any of his real agendas, which would have truly helped having a direct effect, turn the light switch on, in theory.
Right.
So they had to be more crafty on how they did those things.
Right.
And I would not have wanted the pressure of being the first black anything anyway, right?
Yes.
And especially for the corporation of the United States of America that was intended to not even have you there, that it was almost an accident that you got there. Never mind get there twice, right?
Right.
So I think part of it was he did not want to be the first black president who wasn't going to be a true president to the nature of the word. Because in theory, in the ideological sense, in the intellectual sense, to govern, you have to do it from an intellectual point, not an emotional point. A good business owner doesn't look at the fact and say, well, I have this, that. No, he looks at the bottom line. And the bottom line is that the business of America cannot fail while the first black president is at the helm. So do you want to really mess up people's 401ks? Do you want to mess up industry? Do you want to mess up business just to make black people feel better? Now, granted, there are things he should have done, could have done when he first got elected. The first month, the first 6 months, when we had both parties, was the time for him to do it. But do you really want, now again, back to the part of intellectual, sometimes you can overthink. Sometimes you can be so smart that the things that make the most sense become roadblocks. That you start thinking and saying, well, my God, well, I'm the president now, and you know what? We just came out of the worst economic crash since the Great Depression. I'm the first black president. What is my first agenda? Am I going to fix NYCHA? Am I going to fix Detroit? Am I going to fix Chicago? Am I going to go to Mississippi? Am I going to stabilize the country? So remember, any decision he made there was going to affect relationships he was going to have with other politicians going down the line that he understood he was going to need in order to actually do his job fundamentally. So he didn't want to just piss off other racists like Biden, who might be ingrained in political parties that have a lot of power, that he needed votes for on specific issues. So that's the political game that I think he was very conscious of. But when you think that under his tutelage, the highest amount of college graduates became black women, that is a success, because those are mothers who raise children, who build villages, who reinvest into the world. So if you nurture the womb, then you therefore breed a culture of prosperity. That was under his watch. Now we can lament, we can condemn Biden for being an a-hole politician, covert racist, which I would say probably 90% of all politicians are. But because again, in order to govern their specific states, they have to do the will of their people. And if we're aware that we only make up 13% of the population, well, then just take 13% of each one of those states. I mean, you have states like New York, you have states like California in between, but you also have a lot of states that black people are not thriving. So when you think of the people's constituencies in those environments, when someone creates the crime bill, when someone offers specific solutions to the needs of white people, you have to remember, as a politician, he's doing the will of his constituency. It is the reason why George Zimmerman didn't go to jail, because he had a jury of his peers, not Trayvon Martin's peers. So when he made his appeal to the court, he was making his appeal to people who reflected his ideology, not Trayvon Martin's. So when Biden is governing, he was governing for his people. He was sent there by people who wanted him to do something specifically in their environment. So in order for him to keep his job, and I talked about this last time when a politician said things aren't politically reasonable or there are political consequences to decisions, what they're saying is, if I help you and it's not popular amongst my constituents, I lose my job. So they'll put their job over the will of all the people just to, agree with the agreeable. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, right? So who gets the milk first? The baby who cries, right? If the other baby don't cry, they don't know the baby's hungry.
But
so if you have I'm listening.
Yeah, the problem is, though, the deterioration of the political process is gotten so self-serving. And what this year of the COVID has done, it's pulled up the curtain on a lot of corruption, not just Republicans, Democrats. And they'll do anything to stay in power. It's almost like the will of white or black, the will of the people do not count. That's what makes me mad about this year, because you have so much division. Because if you're an everyday person and you're seeing all this, the division and the hatred and stuff, wait a minute, don't be mad at us just because I don't have the same skin color as you. Those people up in Washington are supposed to be helping you. That's where everything gets blurred, because the will of the people is no more, because we have a bunch of self-serving politicians in office.
That's money, right? So that's what we say. This is more about class than it actually is about color.
Right, exactly.
But it's easy to rule or govern people when you placate to their emotion. Now, we are aware that there is a sect of the population that are racist. Right. And remember, to be racist means, in essence, you're not that smart. Like, you have to understand those two are maligned, right? If you are a racist, there's a good chance you're not that intelligent. Because for you to believe that you're greater than somebody because the color of your skin makes you very ignorant.
Right.
Just on the surface of racism. If you're born with a certain amount of means and ways and someone else isn't, that doesn't make you inherently smarter. It makes you inherently more fortunate.
Well, let me ask you this.
Right? So
Let me ask you this though. So what happens with, all right, when you have people that is your skin color that still frown down upon you because you wasn't as lucky as them to be successful, because you have that also. That's why this whole thing, sometimes when you do play the race card and you be like, white people this, white people that, and then when they put someone that's black like Ben Carson, then what's the excuse then? You know what I'm saying? But it goes
to the black bourgeoisie. They're just as detrimental.
It goes back to what you say about class.
That's why Africa's being sold out to China. That's not isolated to America, right? I mean, China, the Caribbean, all of these parts of the world where there's black leaders have historically sold out their own people for money.
Right.
Because it is this goes back to the ideology of colonization, of colonialism.
Yeah.
Are you doing this again? If you buy into the narrative of capital, you are already assuming colonial trajectory. You are already assuming your colonizer's intent. In other words, they created a piece of paper and told you you're going to work for it, and that piece of paper is traded for food. But consider the fact that the food grows for free. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. Everywhere on the planet,
That's a
the
fact.
food, the animals, the trees, the land was there without any help from any human being.
That's a fact.
It was the colonizer who put a square around it and said, if you touch it, I'll kill you. The African didn't understand the premise of it.
That's
The
a fact.
natives didn't understand the premise of why would someone try to charge something that's free. And they
That's
didn't
a fact.
understand it. It was so easy to steal it because they didn't think there was value in it. It was free.
I want
They define value. Go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to the people on YouTube. The YouTube comments. I know y'all can't see it. The YouTube comments be lit. I want to give out a shout out to Yankee Mo, Scott, Takaya, Pauline. I said Scott already. Dragon Manifest, Tech Specs. I mean, they going in. It's a lot of Trump 2020 in those YouTube comments, and they going in over there. But shout out to everyone on YouTube, man. Our YouTube channel is starting to become lit, man. But go ahead, Kim.
The power of the people never lies in the power of the dollar. Well, I would ask you astute gentlemen, why is it that we have not seen the likes of a Dr. King and a Malcolm X